Welcome to our Amud Yomi Shiur. Yesterday we learned about kinyanim of behema, how one should acquire an animal, and I'm going to resend the chart. If anybody is interested in the chart, any of our viewers, you can email akiva1971@gmail.com and I'll send you the chart. I've improved the chart a little bit even more because I looked more into the topic, and I will resend it again today in its improved form. And I saw a very, very nice Pnei Yoshua that explains the order of our Masechta. Our Masechta is all about kinyanim, it's all about acquiring. And it goes by order of importance. Yeah? What does it mean? The Pnei Yoshua has a question. The previous Mishnah that we saw yesterday in Chafer Amud Beis talks about how one acquires animals. It's true that many of these kinyanim apply to other objects as well, but there are issues to do with animals. The fact that the animal sticks its feet to the ground, the fact that the animal, according to Rashi, according to Rabbi Meir, it doesn't. It's not normal for behemoth to be b'meshicha. It's to do with the animals. And now, what we're going to learn today is about how you coin regular things, lands and metaltalin, pieces of land, and also some objects. Why did we speak about animals and then about all other objects? You should most things you buy are not animals, you buy other stuff. Explains the Pnei Yoshua, as I said before, our Masechta talks about what? Our Masechta talks about kinyanim. From the more important to the less important, which means the most important one is the woman. How you coin a woman? Kesef Sharabia. Later, Eved Ivri. Eved Ivri is less important. Then Eved Knaini. Then animals that still are considered living beings. And then we talk about the inanimate objects. That's a Pnei Yoshua. Very, very nice. I put everything into order. Yeah. Weiter. Nechosim, there's also, okay. Says the Mishnah, let's start now the new topic today. Be'ezus Hashem Nitziata Dishmaya and everything, including in the Shiur. Nechosim sheyesh lehem achrayas. Niknin bekesef u'b'shtar u'b'chazoko. Nechosim sheyesh lehem achrayas. Basically, that is a synonym for karka, lands. Anything that's attached to the ground is called nechosim that have responsibility, reliability, liability. What does that mean? If a person sells a piece of, if a person borrows money, let's make it simpler. A person borrows money. If he has a piece of land, you know that that's really good mortgage because the land usually doesn't run anywhere. Even if other people hold it, the land stays there. The sheikh and metaltalin, the person can sell them, can burn them, can destroy them. The less reliable. A kalka is something you can rely on. If you sell, you buy, or especially if you lend someone money, you can rely. So the synonym of nechosim sheyesh lehem achrayas is land. Now, niknin, how do you acquire a piece of land? Bekesef u'b'shtar u'b'chazoko, either with money, and when we say money, it does not have to be the full payment. Let's say you sell your 4 million shekel house, yeah, in Bet Shemesh, it's cheap and nice. So then, and you even gave shove pruta, you gave the first payment, even a small amount, as long as it's shove pruta, that's called kinyan kesef. That's a point of no return. We're going to see many exceptions, but that's kesef. B'shtar, shtar. How does shtar work? Shtar is something that's in the hands of the buyer. The buyer now has a shtar, yeah, and it says, my field is sold to you, says the seller to the buyer holds it in his hands, the buyer acquired the shtar, now the land is his. L'choira, but the Mishnah sounds that it's alternative, either kesef or shtar, or b'chazoko. What's chazoko? So Rashi says, you do lech chazek v'kni, the person now behaves in the soda as if he is the owner. He creates a wall, he closes a door, he puts on a new lock, or he just ofak beputa, what you call it? He digs, he plows a little bit in the ground, whatever, things that show behavior that shows ownership, that's chazoko. So either kesef or shtar chazoko, any of the three is a way to be koine a piece of land. That's number one. Number two, shein lehem achrayas, nechosim that do not have achrayas, meaning metaltalin, things that are metaltalin, ein niknin ela b'meshicha. Interesting, the only way to be koine them is b'meshicha. That is obviously wrong, right? Because meshicha is one of the three. We already know that actually hagba is even better. And what about mesira? Mesira also is koine. The answer is meshicha is just an example. Meshicha means what I call a physical kinyan. Meshicha is a kinyan, by the way, that's mentioned in the Torah. Meshicha ikono miyad amitecho, yeah, but meshicha miyad leyad maybe that's why the Mishnah mentions it, but I saw both in the Ritva, in the Pnei Yoshua, the same Meshicha is an example for physical kinyanim, which means that metaltalin are not acquired neither with kesef, nor star, nor chazakah. By the way, having said that, there is another kinyan that is a common denominator between karka and metaltalin. It works for both, it's just not mentioned in our Mishnah. I guess the Mishnah spoke about contrast. Which kinyan works for both karka and metaltalin? What? Chalifin. Chalifin, very good. Kinyan Chalifin, very nice. Works for both. Good. Very nice. Now, next one. Another form of kinyan. Nechosim she'en lehem achrayes, niknin nechosim sheyesh lehem achrayes, bekesef u'b'shtar u'b'chazaka. This is a kinyan which we mentioned many times called kinyan agav. Agav means on top of. Nechosim she'en lehem achrayes. Nechosim that are metaltalin may sort of take a piggyback, take a ride in the, jump on the bandwagon when it comes to a kinyan of non-metaltalin. The person wants to be kohen and nechosim sheyesh lam achrayes, the keser shtar v'chazaka. You want to sell the house and you want to sell all the items inside the house. Are you going to start seriously to do a gbo on each and every item in the house? That's insane, right? So what do? You pre-decide that the kinyan you're doing on the karka, kesef, shtar, chazaka, will also apply to the metaltalin. Yeah, some people compare it to the bread and butter. You don't make a brocha on the butter, even bread is not a good example. You have a cake with jam. Yeah, you don't make shackle on the jam, right? The mezonis covers everything. True, ikar and tofel. That's one way to explain kinyan agav. If I'm koine the karka, the big boy, with the kinyan of the karka, that kinyan, which otherwise wouldn't have been good for metaltalin, is now good for metaltalin agav. Now, last but not least, that piggyback business works the other way around too. Which means zoikikin means connection. Zika in halacha means connection. Which means the nechosim that have no achrayas, the nechosim that are metaltalin, the smaller things, the mobile goods, the movable stuff, those sometimes they create a sort of agav towards the karka. What does it mean? Not regarding kinyan, but regarding shvua. It says in the Torah, or it's inferred from in the Torah, that shvua cannot be done on karkois. Let's say I have a claim, you think somebody stole land from you, okay? You say, oh, this entire house you stole from me. And the guy says, I'm sorry, half a house I did. These 2 rooms are really yours. I'm so sorry. I'll give it back to you later, not now. And half the house is mine. Moide b'miktsas. Moide b'miktsas, we learned at the beginning of Bav Metzia and at about 55 other places. The moide b'miktsas is chayv shvua. No, so let him be nishba on the karka, on the apartment, and the flat. The what? That there is no shvua on karkois. We learn it from Psukim, the Torah, and the Sechet Shuas. There's not any shbon al karkois. But let's say I tell the guy, listen, you Mr. Thief, I take you to Beis Din, you stole from me the house and everything in it. All the shoes and the socks and the computers and the sofas and the shas, bavli, you stole all of it from me. Then I have 2 claims. I have a claim regarding the land, achrayas, and I have a claim against him regarding what? En achrayas, metaltalin. On metaltalin, you take shvua. That's a regular shvua. I say, you stole the entire shas from me? He said, no, I only stole from brochas till yavomis, not the other half. Yeah. So then what? What do we say? He has to take shvua on the metaltalin, moide b'miktsas. If you take shvua on metaltalin, we sort of then jump on the bandwagon, and also the karka, you would also be nishbon. Yeah, it's reversed agav. The first agav is regarding kinyan. Yeah, and metaltalin agav karka. Sometimes we say karka is agav metaltalin regarding shvua. So once you nishban metaltalin, you nishba also on the karkois that's on top of them, so to speak. Gemara. Okay. Says the heilige Gemara. Bekesef minolan. Oh, the same question that was the famous first question of Kiddushin appears again here. Baruch Hashem. Bekesef minolan. How do you know that a piece of karka is nikna bekesef? And we're not even talking here about receiving the entire amount, even the first payment out of, I don't know, a million. Yeah, the kesef minolan. How do you know that kesef acquires karka? Show me a proof in the Torah. Omer Chizkiya, Omer Ko. It says the pasuk in the Sefer Yirmiyahu. You know who Yirmiyahu was? Jeremiah. Omer Kro. Sodos bekesef yiknu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Yirmiyahu to do what? Remember? To buy a field from his cousin Hanamel. Buy a field. You know how much the field was? A field in Yerushalayim? Sure. Remember. Note the Rebbe said 17 shekels was the field in Yerushalayim. You'd like that to be today too. 70 shekels was a lot of money. Yeah. So, 17 shekels is what the match. Yeah. So then, Sodos bekesef yiknu. It says there he bought the field and he placed and then Yirmiyahu gave a nevuah to the people. Although I'm the one who tells you you're going to go to Golus because of a misbehavior, eventually you'll come back to Eretz Yisrael. Just like I bought a field now, eventually you people, you'll come back to Eretz Yisrael. I'm being positive now. And what do I say? You will buy the fields for money. Oh, buy the fields for money. Hey, black and white. You will buy fields for money. Very nice. Maybe kesef is not enough. Maybe you also have to have shtar. Let me just explain this to you. Let me give you a small introduction before we continue, and that will make your life much happier for the next half an hour. Basically, this is not, and that's not really anything new. It's just that this idea, which I'm telling you now, which everybody knows, once you just have this in mind and implement it into the Gemara, you'll be much easier. Whenever you buy something from someone, let's especially talk about a karka. We have a shtar, right? Every country in the world, they assume, when a person owns a piece of land, he has some kind of proof. In Eretz Yisrael, how's it called? It's a taboo word. Yes, taboo. Yeah, you have a taboo. It's written. You can go on the computer, pay 17 shekels, and what you see the name, your name on your piece of land that you own, it's called taboo. So now, whenever you buy something, there are obviously tug of war between the buyer and the seller, right? There are two sides here. The buyer, when will the buyer be happy? When will the buyer say to himself and to his wife, oh, now I'm okay, I'm happy, and I can rest nicely? When is that? When he has a shtar. When he has the shtar, he says, oh, the shtar, the affidavit, the shtar is in my hands. It shows that it's mine. My name is on the taboo. Oh, mazel tov. You pay the lawyer hundreds of shekels, your name is on the taboo, yofi. When is the seller happy? When he has cash in his hands. The entire cash, preferably. But when he sees money in his hands, that's when he's happy. He says, oh, I got the money. He gave the land to somebody else. What does he want? Money. So there's always a skill war here between shtar and kesef. Here in the Mishnah, we see that either shtar or kesef, either or, are a kinyan, and it's a point of no return, and no side can be choizer. In other words, if both you and I agreed that the shtar will be it, right? Both buyer and seller decided, shtar, let's do the kinyan by shtar. Let's say I'm the buyer, the shtar is in my hands, point of no return. Now I owe you money. Fine, that's a separate cheshbon. I owe you money. People pay mashkanta their entire lives, right? Now, what about the other side? That's also an option. Let's decide that once you receive the money, Mr. Who? Mr. Seller, you got the money. That's a point of no return. That's a kinyan, and the shtar will arrive later. I wouldn't do that if I would be a buyer, right? I want the shtar in my hands. But if both sides agreed, halacha endorses that. And that is one of the three areas of the chatchila. We're going to see really that it's not so simple, but at the moment, that's what it sounds like. Kesef or shtar. Any of the two alternatives, chazakah is the third thing. Either kesef or shtar, whatever happens, and we both agree on, that's already a kinyan. That's fine, better. Now, zok the Gemara, are you telling me from Yirmiyahu that the money alone is considered to be what? What's the money? The money by itself is already a kinyan. So this becomes a viknu. You're telling me psukim from the Novi? I'll give you another pasuk. Maybe the Novi himself only thinks that kesef alone is not enough, and until there's no shtar in the hands of the buyer, it's not called a kinyan. The chtiv, I'll show you. It says v'kosov v'sefer v'chasoim. Hashem himself told Yirmiyahu, I want you to write it in the sefer and chasoim. To write in the sefer, sefer doesn't mean sefer. It's like sefer Christus. Sefer is a shtar. I want this to be written in a shtar and signed. Oh, so you see that writing in a shtar and signing, that is the kinyan, and kesef is not enough. You need kesef and shtar mechire. Answers the Gemara, no. Iksiv yiknu lebasoiv kedekoma. If the word yiknu would have been at the end of the pasuk, meaning would have said you buy the kesef and then kasoiv b'sefer v'chasoim with a shtar, and then they buy, meaning that then and only then the purchase of the purchase, I would agree with you You need both kesef and shtar, and kesef alone is not good enough. But hashta dichtiv yiknu meikore, since the word where's the word yiknu written, Rabbi Isai? Sodas bekesef yiknu. So right at the beginning of the posuk, sodas bekesef yiknu. So you see that kesef yiknu, kesef yiknu, boom, boom. The thing that is koine is kesef, kesef kani. What about the shtar? But the Novi did mention shtar. Shtar raya be'almahu. Oh, there are two types of shtars, Rabbi said. The Rishonim talk about it here. The shtar is the proof. Obviously, Mr. Buyer would require a shtar of what? Of proof of purchase. This is a common mistake by people who learn about the kinyan. People tend to confuse, including, with all the respect, people in this group in the past, a shtar, me'ikar din shtar in halacha usually is not a proof of purchase. It's not even like the tabu. Maybe it was my mistake that I mentioned it. The shtar is the shtar kinyan. The shtar is what causes you to buy, to be the owner. You understand? The shtar is not just a proof that you bought. The shtar is the actual way of purchase. Is a form of purchase. Yeah. When you flash your nice little credit card to the seller, you're not proving, you are buying, right? The shtar is the buying power, the purchasing power here. Yeah. Therefore, says the Gemara, no, we are still digging our heels in the ground that kesef is koine and not shtar. There is a kinyan shtar alternative, but this pasuk says kesef only. It's one exclusive alternative, kesef. And why did the Torah speak about shtar? Of course, Yirmiyahu wanted to keep a shtar, and it says he placed it in a jug of cheres, of clay, to be remembered for future generations to come. That's a proof, but it's not the kinyan. The kinyan is that's a huge nafkamina, by the way. Why? Because once kesef was given, point of no return. You can't go back. No side can go back. Kesef was given. Besides that, go to the lawyer, go to the sofer, go to Beis Din, they'll give you a proof of purchase. That's an anderazach, yeah? Like a receipt in the store, yeah? Let's say the Israeli guy wants to give you a receipt, doesn't want to give you a receipt. You paid the money, you did Mashicha, the item is yours. The receipt is a separate story. Yeah, we're not talking about it now. That's what the Gemara says. So right now we hold that kesef alone from Yirmiyahu Novi is one alternative of kinyan as of itself. Now, besides that, there's another alternative shtar, but we're not talking about it now. There is another alternative. There's also an alternative chazakah. There's an alternative called chalipin. There are other alternatives. They're not in our keyhole vision right now. Right now, we're talking only about the purchase called kesef and kesef alone. Finished. Omar Rav, lo ishanu. Now Rav comes to spoil the fun. Rav is going to spoil the fun. Omar Rav, lo ishanu ela b'mokum she'en kosven es shtar. Says Rav, you know when kesef is koine, only in the place where shtar, either proof, or shtar of kinyan is normally not written. Let's say you have a place where there is no tabu. I don't know which country, Papua New Guinea, I don't know, Burkina Faso, maybe they do have shtaris there, I don't know. A place where shtar is not normally written in the karka. You have edim, you trust each other, I don't know, it works, yeah? Lamaisa, all you have is kesef. So in a place where you don't have shtar, but only kesef, that's a done deal, excuse the pun, to just do what? That's a normal thing, to have kesef given, then kesef alone works. In a place where shtar is normally written, either as a proof of purchase or as the purchase, but something he has to have in his hand, we assume, even if the buyer didn't say it, we assume that the buyer doesn't want to be what we call in Hebrew friar. Why should the buyer give you 4 million shekels for your nice apartment in RBS? What does he have in his hands? No proof. I wouldn't want to be in that position. And therefore, we assume, even if nothing was said, even if he's smiling to you, he's just too nice as an Ole Chadash from Cincinnati, he feels bad telling you what he thinks, but we assume that he's not interested in that, and therefore it's not called a kinyan. It's not a point of no return. As long as he doesn't have purchase in his hands, and it's normal to, yes, have the proof of purchase in his hands, and he doesn't, there's no kinyan. He can go back. Both sides can go back. Now, continues the Gemara to a bigger chiddush. The porish. Porish means as follows. Sometimes the buyer, actually now we're focusing on the buyer, although a social chanor who works on both people, if the buyer is mefaresh, what's mefaresh? Speaks out, he elaborates, doesn't mean to interpret, yeah? If the buyer speaks out exactly the details that he wants, then we work by what he wants. What does that mean? I'm not reading Rashi, The following example will explain it very well in the Gemara. Let's just continue in the Gemara. Now let's remember, let's say, before we continue, that the buyer is now in a very weak position. What is the weakest point in time that the buyer is in? Let's say the buyer in. Which point is the nadir point for the buyer? When you have a deal, there's higher points and lower points. What's the lowest point for the buyer? The most undesired point for the buyer to be in. I'm not sure if I'm making myself clear, so I'll tell you the answer. He gave, and you already gave the money. He gave the lolly. He gave the money. He gave 4 million shekels, which wasn't so easy for him. I don't know why, but he doesn't have it in his little pocket. But he gave 4 million shekels, all his life savings, all the mashkanta, and he doesn't yet have proof of purchase. A very dangerous place to be in. That's why they have the escrow. They have the right or ratazara. I don't know if I say it in English. Yeah, they have this in between situation. Yeah. In other words, oh, very nice, not so nice. The buyer now he's in a weak place where he gave the money, right? Didn't yet get the shtar. So in a place where shtar is normally given, what would be then? The place where shtar is given, he has the power to say no. Even if I didn't speak it out, the Gemara is siding with me, endorsing me. And if I gave you money and you're now playing games, and when will you give me the proof of purchase? Tomorrow, later, after my third daughter will get married, I can back out. I can back off. Why? Because I gave you the money, all the money. I don't feel comfortable. I didn't yet get the shtar, right, which I want. I can back off. Now, that's what we said before. What we're going to say now is, what would be if now he wants the apartment, really, the buyer, and he gave all the money. Now he doesn't have a shtar, he feels uncomfortable. And now, yeah, if he says the buyer, it's not yet a done deal because he didn't get the purchase. You know what the seller would do? The seller would say, you know what? I have another guy that's offering me 4.5 million. Take back your money, says who? The seller. And now I'll drop the deal. The buyer will not be happy with that because the buyer does want the place. And therefore, now we allow the buyer, what we're going to see now, we allow the buyer to hold both cards in his hands, whichever way he wants. What Mishapar is a different story. Let's leave Mishapar alone. Maybe there is, but we're not dealing with Mishapar now. We're dealing now with kinyanim. Let's first see the next few lines, and everything will be much clearer. Listen to the following story. Kiho, it's not even one story, it's a norm of behavior. We're talking here, remember, about an amoire. Kiho de Rav Idi bar Avin, just like Rav Idi bar Avin was an amoire. Kizabin Ara, whenever he bought a piece of land, Omar, he wanted to secure himself on both sides. What does it mean? Iba in the bekaspa ikni. He already gave money, right? Let's say was in that weak position. Rav Idi bar Avin gave the money to the seller. And now he says, listen, I'm telling you in advance that I want all the rules to be in my favor. You don't want to do business with me? Great, tough. I want all the cards to be on my side. If I want the kinyan of kesef to be the final word, so be it. And now he gave you, Mr. Seller, the money. You cannot go back. On the other hand, iba'ina b'shtara ikni. If I want, I can decide that it's not a final deal until I receive the shtar from you, who is holding back the shtar. I will not be your buyer until I receive the shtar, but I have the right to go back and not you. Let's continue even to accentuate it even more. If I want to purchase it with kesef, let's say gave money on Sunday. Let's have timeline. I like timelines. I work better with that. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We are. It's Monday. Oh, Monday. Very nice. Happens to be. Sunday, he gave money. Oh, what a dangerous position. The other side's lawyer. We need the money now. So he gave on Sunday, he gave 4 million shekels to Mr. Seller. Now it's Monday. He gave all the money. And where is the shtar? It will come mañana on Tuesday. I don't like this kind of Monday. I gave all the money and I didn't yet get any purchase, right? Any proof of purchase. Says already in advance, says Rav Idi bar Avin, if I want the kesef to be the final point, the kinyan, that if you guys, who was you guys, if you the seller, if you want to sell, to go back and regret the sale, you cannot regret the sale. You cannot regret the sale. I gave you money and I want to continue mitzidi. If you give me tomorrow Tuesday the proof of purchase, I'd love to be in this house and live there and own it. So if you want to go back for no apparent reason or yes for a reason, no, I'm not willing. I want the money to be the decisive point. The iba ina beshtara ikni. So why did he say that if he wants and be koina with tomorrow's star, the iba ina lemehada has radam be, because if I want to go back on the sale before I receive your proof of purchase of a star, I want to go back. I don't feel comfortable to be committed to you until I don't know when, until you decide one sunny day to give me the star. And therefore, a buyer, and this is an amoiro, a buyer have the ability endorsed by halacha in order to secure himself to say, I have 2 points of time in kinyanim. Yeah, I can decide that 1 point of kinyan is the money. In other words, you cannot go back already, and I reserve the right to yes go back until I don't get the shtar. Wow. Now, would you say that's unfair? Says Shulchan Aruch, the seller can do the same. Now, if both do it in the same kinyan, that's a problem, obviously. Yeah, but if one side says in advance and he says, "Listen, I want either point A or point B to be points of kinyan," yeah, but it would always work in my benefit and always against you. You don't want to do business with me? There's lots of fish in the sea. Go sell your house to other people. That's the way I work. Yeah, you really want to sell your house and I'm the good buyer for you, then the way I work as a buyer to always have the rights working on my side and not on your side. However, says Shulchan Aruch or Ramah, somebody, I think Shulchan Aruch or the Ramah, they say the same thing can be said by the, in a different case, obviously, can be said by the seller. The seller can do the same. The seller is also sometimes in a funny position, right? Let's say the seller gave on Sunday the proof of purchase. Mr. Buyer goes to shows the whole world. It's in my name, my tabu. I'm the owner, and he gave zero money. The buyer is now with egg in his face, so the buyer can do the same. The buyer can say, "Listen, I'm willing for what? For the shtar to be the kinyan that you cannot go back, and I'm willing for the money point to be the point of no return that I can go back and regret until I saw all the money." Here it's not a pruta until I don't see. People do that, right? You don't pay the kablan, right, until the very, very end. Yeah, that's how it goes. The Seder. Ubishtar. Next one. Up until now, there was bekesef. So again, so let's summarize. So kinyan kesef works alone in cases and in places where shtar is not accepted, but where shtar is accepted also besides kesef. Let's say proof of purchase. Then you have kesef and shtar together. That's one way. Now ubishtar. Now let's talk about shtar not as a proof, as a purchase, as of itself. Yeah, the Mishnah said that the second alternative, how do you buy something with a shtar? How you do shtar, we're going to see later. Somebody gives the seller gives the buyer the shtar, and then the land is his. What about the money? He'll pay him later. Ubishtar, minola. First of all, how do you know? What's the source in the Torah, the Novim, the Ksuvim? How do you know that the shtar really is something that that is one of the legal ways to purchase a piece of land? Minola. If you want to bring the posuk for Yahu, that it says write it in the shtar and you should sign it, and have edim signed on the shtar. You told me before that shtar in Yirmiyahu was just a shtar be'alma. What's a shtar be'alma? A shtar which is only a proof. Shtar raya be'alma. It was a proof. It wasn't the purchase, the purchasing power. It was the proof of the existing purchase of money. So you don't have a source. Ela mehocha. There's another source. Vayikach et sefer hamakne. Oh, the mere fact Yirmiyahu took the shtar and he calls the shtar the ekach et sefer hamakne. What does it mean? Even regardless to what happened by Yirmiyahu, the mere fact that the Novi calls sefer hamakne. What's sefer hamakne? The sefer, the shtar of kinyan, meaning the shtar that is the kinyan itself, the shtar that creates the kinyan. Oh, you see here, shtar creates kinyan and does not only prove kinyan, it creates the kinyan. Very nice. Almost Shmuel. Another huge qualification and limitation to that rule, says Shmuel. Lo shanu, that is only true that shtar alone is koine, because again, you realize that who's now in a weak position? When a star was given, who's the star given to? To the buyer. Yeah, imagine yourself, you sell your house in wherever, you sell your house in Nachal Machal, you sell your house to someone, and he has a star on the tabu on his name, it's his, and you got zero money. Nobody wants to be there. So is star alone koine without money, right? Funny. Omer Shmuel lo shonu ela b'shtar matono. You know when star works alone without any money, when there is no money. Matana, matana. Let's say a person gives his apartment for free to someone. Yeah, you're a nice guy. You gave somebody your apartment for free for no money. Since money is not involved, there is no money. You know how much it's going to pay you? Zero. Going to give you a nice bouquet of flowers for Shabbos. People do that to the children, right? Yeah, you buy an apartment for your child and you give it to him for free. So if there's no money involved, so what is the proof of? I'm saying what I'm saying. I'm not saying by mistake. Don't correct me. The proof of purchase. I did yes. Matana in halacha is dealt with as purchase. In other words, even the recipient of matana, although did not spend one dime, but you have to know that it's his. A proper matana has to do with a kinyan, right? If I tell someone, oh, come live in my house for free forever, empty talk, I can evict him tomorrow. I only said that. Matana also has to be established and set in stone, right? With a kinyan. That's why I called it purchase on purpose, yeah? In other words, matana is something that has to be anchored and really established. This house belongs to him. If the house is in my name in the tabu and not my daughter's, let's say, it's not hers. Only if I write my daughter's name on the tabu, then it's considered to be hers. Very good. Where's the money? Matana means there's no money. Very good. Aval bemecher. Let's say you want to sell someone the house. Loikono achit and loidomim. But by mecher, we say no, it's not a kinyan until the seller receives money, which is obviously his very basic interest. Only then it will be a kinyan, a mecher, and star alone won't work. And that does not depend on minhag hamokoim. That is the simple assumption, and that's das bnei odom. Mesiv Rav Imnuna. Oh, remember Rav Imnuna? Now Rav Imnuna is back. Mesiv Rav Imnuna, allow me to make a bracha. You can say Amen if you want. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam shekol nהיה b'dvoro. L'zchus Am Yisrael. Mesiv Rav Imnuna. Yeah, L'choira need both. Yeah, it's kilu two parts of the kinyan. L'choira. Or you're asking maybe the star alone. Star is a kinyan that depends on another side, which is domim. L'choira, it's two. Yeah, I think it's a two-stage process. Kach nira. Yes, I think so. Mesiv Rav Imnuna. Rav Imnuna is asking a question from the Brisa on what we just said now. B'shtar ketzad, the Brisa describes actually stage by stage in exact terms. How does one actually create a kinyan shtar? How do you do it? Do it yourself, DIY. How do you do kinyan shtar? Kosav loy, the seller writes the text for the buyer, alaniyar on a paper, or alacheres, or on a piece of clay, afal pi she'en be'em shve pruta. Even if the shtar itself is less than shve pruta, it's a very regular run-of-the-mill A4 paper, from the printer. It's not shve pruta, meaning there's no money involved. That's the point. No money was given bichlal, not even a resemblance of money. He wrote on a very, very plain piece of paper the following words. Sodi mechor lecho, my field is sold to you, or sodi netuna lecho, or my field is given to you as a gift. Realize what's going on here? We're talking about two alternative stories. Either he says my field is sold to you, meaning money is still expected, or he says my field is given to you for no money as a gift. So that alone, did you hear that? That alone gets the field into the hands, the legal ownership of the recipient, either with or without money. Bad news, because we spoke about a gift or we spoke about a purchase for money. Meaning, so even though money is expected, it's a mechira. Mechira by definition means there is money. You buy, you sell with money. And yet, what did the Brisa say? The Brisa said, write it on a piece of paper. I assume you need more details, the names, and then today would be Tudat Zehut. Reuven ben Shimon sells whatever, Yekusiel ben Zvulun. That's it. It doesn't say, Kevan Shanosan Loidomim, once he gave money, the field is sold. So you see the field is sold just by having the shtar without money. Bad news. It's not like you said, right? We said before, not like that. We said that you need also to give him money. That's what Shmuel said. That's against the Brisa. We see that shtar works alone, even by mechire. Answers the Gemara, yeah. Who moisiv la v'hu mefarik lo. Rav Yimnuna asked the question, and Rav Yimnuna is mefarik it. What's mefarik? Take it apart or answer it, right? In this case, yeah. In this case, he answers. He himself explains it. What's the answer? The moicher sadeh mipnei roso. What does it mean? Sometimes the seller is very, very happy for the buyer to be the buyer ASAP without having the ability to go back on his words, even before the seller got his money. When is that? Somebody has a really not nice field. He has a field which is ra'ah. It's a bad field. The buyer knows it. Nobody's cheating here, by the way, if that's your concern. The buyer knows that it's nishka mitzia. He bought some apartment with bad neighbors and with leaking all over and with bad smell and with issues with the area and with cats coming all over the place and cockroaches. He knows it. Why did he buy it? Because he wants to, I don't know, whatever, he bought it. Now, it's very likely that Mr. Buyer would quickly regret it. He doesn't realize that once his wife steps in, she's going to scream and he's not going to be interested. The seller wants the buyer to not be able to go back on his word, the shumoifen, even before receiving the money. The money I know I'll receive from him, says the seller. So in such a case of moicha sadeh mipnei also, because it's assumed that he wants the field or the house or whatever to be in the secure hands of the buyer without the buyer being able to go back. Usually it's the other way around, right? I want to have the ability. No, I don't want him to go back even without me receiving the money. In such a case, and that's before Shulchan Aruch, in such a case, shtar alone works. If I wrote, yeah, and we know that he sold the field because it's bad. It's proven by Edim, by Metzias, by chazakah, that he sells the land to get rid of that horrible land. Mimela, there it works by shtar alone before he even received the money. He's going to receive his, I don't know, 500,000 shekel for such an apartment later. I trust you to pay me. We have Edim, we have lawyers, we have ways, we have the Beis Din. No worry. But the most important for me right now is that you should just get the hot potato out of my way. I want this hot potato out there in your hands without you being able to regret. In such a case, clearly the interest of the seller is that the shtar alone would function as a point of no return. There were too many cockroaches. I don't care. It's yours. Now give me the money because the karka is yours. And therefore, shtar alone works, even though it's not matana, but the mechira. That's answer number one. Rav Ashi Omar. Rav Ashi says no. Rav Ashi gives a whole different answer, completely different answer. And the answer is as follows. What did the Brisa say? The Brisa says b'matana, b'mechira and b'matana, right? Mechur lecho nesuna lecho. Up until now, we thought it means what? Either mechira or matana. Says Rav Ashi, no, it's one and the same. Wow. Sometimes matana and mechira are together. What does it mean? The matana bikeshlit naloi. Really, it was matana. Yeah, somebody called his son, his daughter, his best friend, his chavrusa, some poor relative, and you're a very big, you're a very rich person. I want to surprise you for your birthday. I'm giving you an apartment in Yerushalayim. Oh, a dream come true. It's a matana, no money, and I'm going to write the shtar to make sure it's legally in your hands. You're the legal owner. Now, b'matana bikeshlit naloi. It's really a matana, and in the shtar he wrote that I sold it to you. Why? Why did he write in this matana? It's really a matana. But he, the good giver, is a real nice guy. He's a real good donor, a nice benefactor. And he wanted to write in the shtar, this karka is sold to you. Why? To make his ownership of the recipient stronger in the land, to make his power stronger. What does it mean? Explains Rashi very, very simple. What's the difference between a karka that you paid for and a karka you did not pay for? We can play many jokes here. Your 5 million shekels, that's a difference. But there's one halachic clear difference, and that is the famous story which we see every once in a while in the Gemaras. What happens with a nasty knock on the door? What would be if Mr. Giver of the matana, yeah, gave his apartment in Rehavia? In Rehavia, he has an apartment. He gave it to his poor nephew, to a kollel guy, and he says, "My house in Rehavia is yours." Very nice. You know, that nice donor he has people chasing him for debts. Okay, what do they do if he doesn't have cash? They go to the house in a rehavia and they knock on the door and tell the poor nephew out because this apartment belongs to us. We have a shtar choiv. So now, what would the nephew do? Oh, it depends. Oh, achrayes, very good. If the nephew would have gotten it with money and he has a shtar that he received it with money legally, then he can go back to the seller and say, Mr. Seller, excuse me, achrayes to soifer. We always assume there is achrayes. Somebody, some nasty people, they took the apartment because you owe the money. I'm coming back to you to be responsible as a guarantee. And yes, now he owes him a new apartment, the seller. But if he got it for free, there's a mefursha posuk in America, easy come, easy go. I don't think it appears in any of the 5 chumoshim, but there's right, easy come, easy go. He didn't pay for it. There's no achrayes. Mechutzef. I gave you the land for free. I'm not responsible unless you wrote achrayes, but I didn't, right? Oh, if the giver wants to be super giver, super nice guy, super benefactor, and that's what he did over here, he wrote in the shtar, I sold you the land, even though he didn't. So therefore, that creates a achrayes, that in case the malvim of him are knocking on the door and they will take the apartment away from the recipient of the gift, the recipient will be able to go back to the giver with the shtar and say, you sold it to me, or ke'ilu you sold it to me, and you owe me a new apartment or other money because there's a achrayes. Writing mechire, writing mochor lecha created a achrayes. That's why I wrote it. But really, it's a matana. So again, back to square one. Not back to square one. I meant to say, let's summarize. Really, and this is, by the way, halacha. I looked in Shulchan Aruch today. Halacha says what? Halacha says very clearly. Halacha says that ein kinyanim, if a person sold something with money, not with money. In other words, somebody sold a piece of land for money. There's money expected. There's money expected, and only shtar was given to the hands of the buyer. That's not a kinyan. Although the Mishnah is not, the Mishnah does not detail that, but Shmuel does. Shmuel says no normal person in his right mind as a seller would like to have the proof of purchase on the other side by the buyer, and he received zero money or even half the money. Only when all the money will be by me, the seller, then will be a sale, and that's halacha. We saw otherwise. No, that's b'matono. There are 2 exceptions to the rule. Either a person is morches adel mipnei also, the person sold the field and everybody knows, and he declares, I'm selling that piece of, I got it by Yerusha from someone, horrible location, horrible everything, hot potato, out of my way. Then in a chinami, he's interested in this being just, even with just a proof of purchase, he'll be very happy they'll be secure in the hands of the buyer. Later I'll get the money, but I want you not to be able to go back on your word. I want you to stay with the hot potato and the cockroaches and the horrible neighbors. Yeah. Now, what about the other option, matana? Even if matana has loshen mechira in it, but if at the end of the day it's matana, by matana, of course, we say there is no money. There is no money involved, so I can't say it's only a done deal once the money arrives. I'm not expecting any money. Matana. Why did you write mochor? Mochor is there only in order to secure the matana in the hands of the recipient and create a achrayes that even if anything happens to that piece of land, the seller, which is not really a seller, which is a giver, he's reliable and he is accountable, and he can go back to him to give you a new piece of land. That's okay. It's matana and steroids. Very good. Yeah, matana extra deluxe, 5-star matana. Yes, and we are with the question session. Ube chazakah. Fragt the Gemure. Minolan, how do you know that chazakah, when a person behaves in a piece of land like a balabais, yeah, he built a fence, he plowed it, he painted the wall, it says in Baba Basra. Minolan, how do you know? How do you know? What's the source in the Torah? Omar Chizkiah, says Chizkiah, yeah. Omar Kro, the Pasuk says, V'shvu ba'arechim asher tafastem, that's Gdalia ben Achikam. Gdalia ben Achikam, which tried to, revive a little bit, the little bit that was left in Eretz Yisrael. He said to the people, sit in the lands asher tafastem, which you caught. B'metafastem, how do you catch it? How do you become an owner? You chap it, you catch it, you become the owner. B'yeshiva, by sitting there. In other words, sitting in the land, like to sit pretty. You sit on the land means you behave like a Baal Habais. Yeah, in other words, if you come to your friend's house, if you're a person with a little bit of tact, yeah, you come to someone's house, you behave like a guest, you don't behave like the Baal Habais, right? You don't come to your friend's house unless you hand him in and change the lock or start, to fix things. Yeah, right. I'm saying so if you behave like a Baal Habais, that means that you are the Baal Habais, obviously with the consent of the seller. Dever b'Shmuel Tana, in the yeshiva, there's only one word to say Dever b'Shmuel. In the yeshiva or the house of Rabbi Shmuel, not the A word. Dever b'Shmuel Tana, v'yirashtem oiso v'yishavtem bo. It says v'yirashtem oiso, you inherit it and you sit in it. V'meirashtem b'yeshiva. How do you inherit the land? Doesn't necessarily mean inherit from your father. Yirashtem also means to own it. How do you become an owner? The yeshiva, by sitting there being a balabais. Guys, wow, we finished all three kinyanim of what? Karka. Now we talk about the metaltalin. How do you know that the way to purchase metaltalin is b'mashicha? I want to say something again, something unbelievable from Pnei Yeshua. The Pnei Yeshua says something about kinyan agbo. Which one of the three kinyanim, agbo, mashicha, or mesira, is the strongest one? Yeah, agba, American quality. Everyone says agbo is the best. Lamaisa, even Rashi, be'etzem also agbo is the best. What? Oh, mashicha is mufurish in the Torah. Agbo, that's my word. Agbo is the only kinyan that you only do it for agbo. When was the last time you see somebody picking up something for no reason? You only pick it up like that and put it down. Let's say Tim McKenzie would watch Jews in action, wants to make a movie about Jews in Brooklyn. Yeah. So then what? If you pick you up and you put it down, it's something out of the way, religious. Why do you do it? Obviously for kinyan. Mashicha is normal. People always pull animals. Go to Pakistan, Afghanistan. They all pull their bulls behind them, right? Whatever, the oxen. And so is Mesira. You give over. Agbo is the only kinyan that's done only for the purpose of kinyan. That's why Agbo is something stronger. However, Meshicha is the one mefurish in the Torah. And really, Agbo and Mesira, I think, if I got it right, they're all derivatives of Meshicha. That's what I have to confirm what I said now, but I think so. I think the Agbo and Mesira are all derivatives of Mesira for sure. Mesira works where Meshicha doesn't. That we saw yesterday, right? Mesira is the plan B for Meshicha. I think Agbo also, although it's better, but it comes from the concept of Meshicha. This I have to do my homework on. Anyway, Minolan, how do you know that metaltalin are purchased by Meshicha? It says, when you sell something to your friend, or you buy something miyad amitecho. I slipped in the word miyad amitecho. Why does it say miyad amitecho? You buy something from the hand of your friend. It says you sell or you buy. Why do you say from the hand? From him. What do you mean from his hand? Although the main idea of the pasuk, by the way, is to talk against oino, against cheating. That's the title of the pasuk. But the pasuk is hinting one word in the Torah. Yad teaches me a world, a whole universe of kinyanim. Yad, from the hand. Hand miyad liyad is pulling. You pull something with your hand. That's pshat, and that is good according to Rish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan says the midoraisa, we saw that extensively involved Metzia, and we'll see it later on later. It says according to Rabbi Yochanan, Dvar Torah Mois Koinos. Remember, Rabbi Yochanan says midoraisa, even when it comes to metaltalin, money does buy metaltalin. Midoraisa meikar din Torah, Meshicha is not necessarily the kinyan. Money can buy. You can give money to someone for his, I don't know what, for his computer, and then what? And then the computer is yours. Now, Rabbanon made a takono, soon we'll repeat that, but midoraisa, it's money, not Meshicha. Why did the Mishnah tell us, why did the Mishnah tell us a kinyan that doesn't exist in the Torah? Right? The Mishnah told us Meshicha. The Mishnah should have told us Kesef. According to Rabbi Yochanan, Midoraisa, Kesef is what's going to be metaltalin. Only Rabbanan canceled it, and they said that besides the Kesef, you also need Meshicha. But Midoraisa Kesef alone is koine. Why does the Mishnah ignore it? Answers the Gemara, Tana tekanta de Rabbanan ktani. The Mishnah talks about the Rabbanan. The Mishnah is current. The Mishnah is relevant. The Mishnah wants to tell Lamaisa. The Mishnah is not a history book. The Mishnah doesn't tell them, no. The Mishnah is telling you what's real now. Yeah, in the time when the Mishnah is written, what do we say? Really, what's koine? Meshicha, and not the kesef. Why not the kesef? Remember, in other words, if I give Yitzchak, yeah, 1,500 shekels for like an old computer, yeah, and now the computer is in your house, and I gave you 1,500, and I say, okay, the computer is by you. You're going to say, okay, I'm not responsible. Now you're not a shomer, let's say, and you're going to tell me, you're going to say your wheat or the computer was burnt. I'm not responsible. I don't have any interest to look after that, right? Therefore, Chachamim said it's not good that the purchase will be by money while the item is still by you. Only when I'm moishech, I can still go back on my word, both sides, until I actually pulled the computer or pulled the, computer may be hagbo, until I pulled a big bag of wheat. Only then there will be a kinyan, to make sure that you look after it, because you know that I may go back on my word, so you have an interest to look after it very, very well. We'll see all that, by the way, in 2 or 3 dafim anyways, more on the subject. This was just mentioned tangentially. One more. Nechosim shelem achrais. Another quote from the Mishnah, that is kinyan agav. I'm not going to repeat what kinyan agav means, okay? You know what's kinyan agav. Anybody doesn't know what's kinyan agav? Don't be ashamed. We're going to learn now. Minani, how do you know that kinyan agav works? How do you know that I can be koine a piece of land, and on top of that, I can be koine all kinds of metaltalin with the same kinyan of the karka, which would work for both? Yeah. How do I know that the boyer minimizoinus on the cake covers the other layer of gem on top of it with boyer minimizoinus? How do you know that what's done to the main thing also works for the secondary thing? How do you know? No. Anything. We're going to see all kinds. We're going to see everything. This is the main sugya of agav here, and also in above Basa Ein Vav Zayin Berch, yeah, or before around there. We are going to see everything. Bezos Hashem. And as far as I remember, no, it's not only things that to do with the ground. No, all kinds of metaltalin. Look, minani, how do you know? First of all, what's the source? How do you know? Very interesting. You see the approach of the Gemara before the Gemara goes into Pilpulin. The Gemara is asking you, what's the source? You hear a rabbi saying an interesting Dvar Torah. First thing you have to ask him, what's your source? You hear Dvar Halacha, Dvar Musar. What's the source? Tell me sources. Don't make up stories. Minani, how do you know the source? Omer Chizkiah, it says in the Pasuk, yeah. Again, Chizkiah is giving us a source, like he gave us a source before. It says, "Vayiten lahem aviem matonos v'goymer im ori mitzuros beYehuda." It says that the father of one of the Shvotim, it's in Divrei Yomi, Ibnei Yehoshaphat. It says that the father of the family gave them matonos, and the matonos mentioned there are margolios, zov. It says kesef, zov, migdonos. Yeah, Ellen. He gave them bars of gold, silver. He gave them food, and he gave it to them im ore mitzuros beYehuda, together with ore mitzuros, with cities in Yehuda. In other words, the father gave them a city, a town. He owned the town. He gave them the town as a matona. A town is a movable karka, pieces of land, houses, flats, gas stations. He gave them that, and on top of that, he gave them all kinds of other things. So you see that the kinyan that works for the stable thing, the movable karka, is also good for the metaltalin. Okay, and from the objects mentioned in the pasuk, no, it doesn't necessarily have to be things connected to the ground. It's even silver and gold, stamp pieces of gold, food, migdonos. It all works. Yes. No. Im. You mean the order of the pasuk? Yeah, he gave it to them. I hear what you're saying. Nice, we can say the other way around. He gave. Oh, listen, Rabbi. Im ore mitzuros, agav the ore mitzuros. Very good. Shlomo is doing very well. He's saying like this: how did he give them the silver and the gold and the cakes and the candies? Im ore mitzuros. The way they purchased it was through the ore mitzuros, through the land. Very good. Everyone's doing great today. Iboilu. Before I ask your question, the major question which we're going to now explore is What's tzavur? Erech tzavur. Accumulated, gathered. Do they have to be gathered inside the karka or not? Let's say I want to give my friend, a lot of gold and silver. I have tons of gold and silver in my house, and I want to give him my house or sell him the house for kesef or star chazakah. And agav that, I want to give him, the bars of gold and silver. Do the bars of gold and silver have to be inside the house, indoors, or does it work even if they're outdoors? Let's say my house is in Lachish 40, which actually that's where it is, I think, yeah. And I want to sell it to you. And chutz mideh, I have silver and gold in a different house in I don't know where, in Cherry Hill. In Cherry Hill, yeah, in Cherry Hill. I have a machsan with lots of silver and gold. Can the kinyan of the house work even though the items are not inside? Or do they have to be located geographically inside in order to be koine? That's a question. Yeah. Do we say, in other words, like toffel, right? Does the jam have to be on the cake? Or I eat the cake and I eat a spoon of jam separately, but it's still mentally connected. Yeah. We decided it's connected verbally, mentally, or no? Does it have to be connected physically, mamish there, in order for the kinyan of X to work for Y? That's a question. Amar Rav Yosef, Toshma, Rav Yosef is going to try and prove from the following Rabbi Akiva statement to Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says as follows: Karka kol shehu. Rabbi Akiva describes to us what are the special attributes of a karka which is very, very small. Let's say a person has an extremely small karka, a piece of land, I don't know, 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter. What would apply to that piece of land, which is, it's a piece of karka, din pruta kedin meya, but it's very, very small. Says Rabbi Akiva a whole list of things. I don't think we'll be able to go very far. We'll just start. Karka kolshu chayeves bepeya. It's chayev bepeya. Cute. You managed to, let's say, plant there 4 little, I don't know, stalks of wheat. Yeah. You leave 1 little corner. Yeah. Lilliputian. Yeah. 3 of them you cut. Yeah. You pick, and the one you have to leave peya. Chayeves bepeya. Ube bikurim. You have to give bikurim. That small piece yielded something. The fact that it's small does make a difference. Yeah, we know that pruzbul is written really only a person that has a piece of land. You write a pruzbul for him. Why? Because really the normal way of a person to lend money and is only for people who have a piece of land. Don't lend money to people who don't have a land as mortgage. That's why the takana was only for people who have a piece of land. And listen to this punchline. The liknas imanechosim shenem achrayus. Opa, that tiny piece of land, yeah, you may be able to play the agav kinyan, the agav game. The agav kinyan works in such a piece of land. So I can have a tiny piece of land, right? And on top of that, not necessarily physically on top of that, together with that, I can sell you all kinds of metaltalin. Says the Gemara, here's your proof. Diomar bin and tzvurim. If you think that all these metaltalim have to be inside the land, kol shulamai chazi, such a tiny piece of land, which items can be on that piece of land? Even 1 shoebox is bigger than that. Even my phone is bigger than that. There is no reality, there's no metzias, right, of having, right, something on top of such a small piece of land, right? And therefore must be by default, we see what? Must be that agav works even outside the land. The land is in Rehov Lachish, and the metaltalim are in America, and it does work, because otherwise, how could a small piece of land host anything in it? And says the Gemara, no, that's not true. Maybe he stuck a needle inside. He sold him a needle. In other words, he sells him a piece of land which is tiny. Inside is stuck a machat, a needle. And then his agav, really agav, does have to be inside. The metaltalim have to be tzvurim in the land. And a tiny piece of land can also host something, en lechodom she'en l'sho. Even that has the small piece of machat. The Gemara is going to challenge that soon. At the end of the day, we're going to say that it talks about a diamond. Atzlocho brocho. Thank you to all our Torah Anytime viewers, as well as to our YouTube channel people. And to you, you're gonna ask a very good question soon. Atzlacha Baruch, have a great day. Mashiach should be here soon. Atzlacha and Geula HaShalema. Thank you. Thank you to all the Zoom people. Thank you for being with us. Again,